I'm going to start with some light content at first, just a little bit about myself, so people that show up late aren't really missing a whole lot there. First of all, thanks everybody for showing up to this. My name is Rob Ruiz. I am a graphic and web designer, turned full stack web developer. So from the years of about 2006 till about, we'll say 2015-ish, 14-ish. I was mostly a designer, so meaning very little exposure to code. I knew basically HTML and CSS, and that was about it. Then I started getting into more crazier things after that. And right around the 2015, 2014 time, I really started getting pretty heavy into WordPress. I had already been introduced to Joomla and some other content management systems. Had already started learning a little bit of PHP. Hadn't quite wrapped my head all the way around it yet, but it was right around 2015 where I really started to find my stride and dive deep into WordPress and start learning how to develop extremely complex things. So I've been a full stack web developer now, full on professionally for solid 5 to 6 years roughly. And then I am the lead organizer of a local meetup group here in Omaha called WP Omaha. There's many WP groups all over the country. Kansas City, Minneapolis, all the big cities have one. So we have had our own for quite a while now. So I've been the lead organizer of that group since 2017, although the existence of that group precedes my time leading it. If you want to know a little bit more about WP Omaha, if you find this talk good and you are interested in learning more about WordPress after this, our meetups cost nothing. They're entirely free. We do have paid workshops occasionally, but we try to do free meetups every month around a variety of topics that all have to do with WordPress. Some of them related to marketing, some of them related to development, some of them related to just design, web design best practices, search engine optimization, security, all these things. We touch on all those things at WP Omaha. You can go to wpomaha.org to learn more about our meetup group. And then our main area for setting up our meetups is all through meetup.com. So if you go to meetup.com/WP-Omaha or just search for WP Omaha on meetup.com, you'll find the actual meetup group, and all of our meetups are organized through there. And then we have our own website where you can find videos that we've done in the past and all of our social media stuff. So if you find this WordPress stuff intriguing and you want to know more, please join us at one of our future meetups and get involved in our little community that's all based around WordPress. I've been the co-organizer of WordCamp Omaha since 2016. And the lead organizer, I was the lead organizer in 2018 and last year. I helped organize this year. However, obviously because of the whole COVID thing, which is why a lot of you are listening on here now instead of in person, looks like it's going to be on hold. We're probably going to delay it the entire year and just do one next year in 2021. And I'll be co-organizing that one and helping the new lead organizer organize that. WordCamp Omaha is a 2-day-long WordPress convention. We've been having one in Omaha since I think 2014, and it's just all day. Many people, professionals, talking about lots of different topics revolving around WordPress and just online marketing and having a website, e-commerce. All the things that come with doing, running a business on the web, and then also developing websites with WordPress. So anything from beginner to advanced. My current career right now is as a professional WordPress engineer. I've been building custom WordPress-based solutions for large companies for quite a while now, since about 2017, I would say. I've been working for very large companies, building very specific customized implementations of WordPress. A lot of this revolves around custom theme and WordPress plugin development. And then obviously knowing the basics of web design and development is a prerequisite to being able to do any of that. So yeah, it's some pretty complex stuff. If anybody's ever interested in learning more about what I do at my full-time job, if you think it's a career you might want to get into, you're more than welcome to find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Rob Ruiz, you'll find me. I currently work at Proxybid. And so if you find a Rob Ruiz that works at Proxybid, that's me. Yeah, and I think you can find out more about me through the wpomaha.org, and also on the Meetup, you can reach me on meetup.com/wp-omaha in there as well. So if you have any other questions after this, you'd like to reach out, you're struggling with anything that has to do with WordPress or want to know more about WordPress that we don't cover in this, by all means, feel free to reach out to me in any of those avenues. You can find me on in a wide variety of places. We have a Facebook page for WP Omaha, Facebook group, Twitter account, you name it, LinkedIn group. If you go to LinkedIn and you search for WP Omaha, we have a group on there. So yeah, a whole bunch of ways to get involved with WordPress more deeply. Now let's talk about why is WordPress cool? Why am I so obsessed with it? Why should you guys be interested in it? And what is all this about? So 37% of all websites in the existence of the entire world, and who knows, the universe, if we're the only species in the universe that has the internet, 37% of them are all built on WordPress today. So if you're just browsing the internet randomly, there's a 37% chance one of the websites you end up on is powered by WordPress. PHP, the server-side language that powers WordPress, is used on 79% of all web services in existence. So let that sink in. 79% is all built on PHP. And as a matter of fact, interestingly enough, today is the 25th birthday of PHP. So interesting little tidbit, interesting timing. There you go, 25 years old, kind of a big milestone. Not a lot of technology and software that we write in today is actually 25 years old and still powering that large of a percentage of the technology that we all use today. As a matter of fact, much of Facebook's underlying technology is all built in PHP. There's a lot of PHP out there. So another interesting little tidbit of information. That's mostly what I program in these days. WordPress is open source, meaning anyone can use it, adapt it, and or contribute to it in any way they desire. So we'll talk a little bit more about how deep you can go into the amount of control you can exact over WordPress in a little bit here in a couple more slides. But yeah, the fact that it's open source, any open source technology provides that to you. So JavaScript is open source, Node is open source. There's many open source languages out there that have that flexibility, that give you that power. You grab it, you take it, basically get a copy of it running on your own little environment that you admin, that you control, and nobody else controls it. And essentially, you got the keys to the kingdom, and you can do anything that your imagination can cook up. So that's pretty powerful stuff. The more people that contribute to something that's open source, the better that something becomes. WordPress has an extremely healthy, thriving, and growing ecosystem. So meaning that as opposed to other content management systems like Drupal or Joomla or whatever, the more people that contribute to it, the more cool stuff comes out of it. The more progress that happens more quickly. And so you just get more people contributing to the same thing, and that gives us more tools. It gives us more cool stuff that we don't have to rebuild from scratch. Things like plugins, things like themes that are completely responsive. They work on mobile, ways to turn your WordPress site into almost a mobile app, which is kind of crazy. Lots of crazy stuff you could do because it's so popular. So that's a huge value, and one of the main reasons why I jumped from being a Joomla website developer to being a WordPress website developer way back in, like, I don't even know when that was, 2011 or something like that. Like it's quite powerful, and once you start to dig in and explore some of the stuff that's out there for WordPress, it'll become quite evident when you start comparing it to what's out there for other content management systems, especially free. And then even once you get into the paid stuff, it gets even crazier. So yeah, and then of course, extendability. WordPress is the most flexible content management system in existence, and largely because of how many people contribute to it. It's literally designed from the ground up to be extended, so it has a lot of systems built into it designed for extension or plugins, which are what we call extensions for WordPress, to hook into and utilize the underlying systems so that all the different plugins can kind of talk to each other to some degree through these underlying core WordPress systems, which is really cool. Cool. So let's talk about hosted versus self-hosted websites, because that's one of the biggest things that I hear people getting confused when it comes to WordPress. What'll happen is people will hear about WordPress, somebody will tell them you should build your website on WordPress, and then what they'll do naturally is they'll do something like go type in wordpress.com or something. They end up on wordpress.com, and then they just start following the information there, and it leads them down the path to basically setting up a hosted WordPress solution on wordpress.com. And it's important to point out that that is not the way that most people create WordPress websites. It is an option that you can do it through that route, but it is not the most popular. What makes WordPress so popular is the open source software itself, not the hosted web solution that exists on WordPress.com. If you instead go to wordpress.org, O-R-G, that's where it talks about the actual underlying software that is WordPress that you are able to download and install literally anywhere on your computer, on a server somewhere. And so a lot of times, like if you buy some hosting on GoDaddy or Bluehost or any of these hosting companies out there, and you use like their one button click install for WordPress to get WordPress up and running, that's what they're doing. When you click that button, is they're grabbing that WordPress install from wordpress.org, and they're essentially unpacking it in your hosting environment for you and setting it up for you so that you don't have to do the setup process yourself, which used to be extremely manual, but now is much easier. So you're all very welcome that you didn't have to go through the old days of having to the 20-step process of setting up a WordPress site from scratch. So let's go over some of the comparisons, the benefits, and look at what's going on here. So with the hosted WordPress.com solution, you have a limited control over your site, limited access to data, but it is a lot easier to get up and running with WordPress. So it comes with the price of very limited situation and also limited scalability. So if you're spinning up a WordPress site that you think might turn into some huge successful business, and at some point in time in the future, you're going to want to do a whole bunch of custom crazy stuff, if there's even like a slight chance that what you're building with WordPress might get bigger than just like some initial thing that took you 10 minutes to set up, you're probably not best off going with the hosted way of things. You might be better off going with the self-hosted situation, which allows you unlimited control over the site. You own the database, you own the data. It's all yours on your own private server. Nobody else can access it. Nobody else can touch it. And then the only caveat is that it is slightly trickier to set up. Now, that depends on where you host it. So just because it says self-hosted doesn't mean that I'm talking about hosting it on your own computer or from your own server in your house or on premise or anything like that. What I'm talking about is most times what people do is they'll go to a hosting company that allows you to lease server space somewhere and set up a server that you then install WordPress on. And depending on the hosting and the hosting provider that you go to for that, it can be extremely easy to set up WordPress, or it could be a little tricky to set up WordPress. Some of them make it very easy. So for instance, since we are in Omaha, and one of the biggest companies in WordPress for hosting is Flywheel, and Flywheel is headquartered out of Omaha. Maybe many of you have heard of Flywheel, but Flywheel is a good example of one of these self-hosting solutions that make it extremely easy and straightforward for you to spin up new WordPress instances. There's other good ones like SiteGround, WP Engine is one. There's many of them out there. But then there's other hosting platforms out there that don't specialize in WordPress. And on those, it tends to be a little bit trickier because their system isn't designed specifically for WordPress. It's designed for anybody that wants to host anything, regardless of what it is. So if you have any questions for that, feel free to use the Q&A section in here. Ask your questions. If you have any questions around hosting environments or setting up hosting and getting a place for you to actually run WordPress from in the first place. The nice thing is that regardless of where you host it from, the user interface for the admin side of WordPress is the same. And we'll be going over that shortly. As a matter of fact, this might be my last slide. Nope, I got one more slide, and then we'll actually dive into WordPress itself, and I'll show you guys what it all looks like. So I will say that although many of you are probably not interested in learning programming or kind of like the fine details of exactly how the web service works, it does benefit people to kind of understand the from a high up level the basic ins and outs of what's going on under the hood. So if you look at this diagram here, what you'll see is the user on the top left, which is essentially the person who's visiting your website. They hit this little N thing there, which you can consider a node, and that's your server. So it calls, www.yourwebsite.com, and your website is on a server. Your domain name says, okay, go to this server's IP address and give me the website. And so I can give it to the user who's asking for it. And then what happens is the server, in order to run WordPress, actually reaches out in two different directions. It makes a call to the PHP server-side software, and then also at the same time reaches out for static files on your server's hard drive. So the server itself will have a hard drive that you can store files on, like images, music, text files. Obviously, PHP files are going to be on there because that's what runs the website. Is like, I don't know, thousands of PHP files on there that all are already set up to go together. And then based off of that PHP script that's running, the PHP will not only reach out for its own files, but it'll also reach out to the side to the database. And that database query, that's where all the data resides for WordPress. So when I talk about data as opposed to files, files are like lines of script that are written. The database contains all of the specific information that has to do with making your website look like your website and not like somebody else's website. So things like what your domain for your website is, all of your user information, all of the, like what plugins are active or not active, which theme is active or not active, just tons and tons and tons of data that's in there. There's like, I don't even know, 30 tables or something of data. All of your posts are in there. Every time you create a new post in WordPress or a new page in WordPress, it creates a new entry in the database. And that's how you slowly over time turn your website into your own unique website, is based off of the data that you enter into WordPress. So it's important to know, because if you ever want to migrate your website somewhere or your site crashes or whatever and you need to troubleshoot, there's a few different moving parts here where things can go wrong, need to be fixed, or things that you just need to pay attention to when you're doing certain processes in WordPress. Most of my job is understanding the deep intricacies of the underlying system these days, but most of the times, if you're just using WordPress to spin up a basic website, you don't really need to know a lot about that. So I think that's my last slide. I am using a program called Local by Flywheel, which is by the company that I just mentioned earlier. This is a software that allows you to create a local hosting environment for WordPress on your computer. So this is not like a hosting solution for a WordPress site that you would want anybody in the whole world to be able to visit. It's mostly just a tool for people that are creating websites or developing websites before they deploy them to a remote server where it can be accessed from the rest of the world, so that we can control different environments here locally and spin up kind of like practice little websites that run right on our machine instead of having to pay some hosting company, you know, X amount of dollars every single time we want to spin up a new WordPress site to play around in. So you can, I mostly just use this as essentially a playground management system for when I'm building WordPress sites or WordPress functionality, not a whole site even. A lot of the times I'll be building stuff that is just like one little thing that exists in the site. So that's what I'm running right now. I created one for today called DoSpace, and just for this specific webinar, it took me very little time to do it, and it fired it all up, and now it's running on my local machine. So you can see over here, my browser is pointed at do-space.local, and so if you try to go to this URL at home, where you are right now, you're not going to be able to get to it because this is running on my local machine, not out on a remote server that's available for anybody in the whole world to hit. So this is what WordPress looks like today, right out of the box, right when you start it up. It's just a hello world post here. It's, you know, a responsive website. So if we change our screen size here, let me get some of this out of the way. And you can see everything changes. And so this is what it looks like on mobile. And here's what it'll look like full screen, and so on and so forth. And then we have the other side of WordPress, which is known as the WordPress Admin. And so that's an important thing to know about WordPress, is that it kind of has two sides. It's got the side that all your users see when they go to your website, and then there's the side that you log into that allows you to go and edit your site, control your site from what's called the WordPress Admin user interface. So I'm going to go ahead now and log in to this interface, and we'll see what the back end looks like of a brand new WordPress site. Meanwhile, while we wait for this, I see some questions I'll field. Does Local by Flywheel cost money? There is a pro version and there is a free version. Most people use the free version. The free version does not cost any money. There's a pro version that has a few other bells and whistles that you do have to pay for. I am currently using the free version. Yep. And I think it's, I see the same thing twice. Cool. Yep. So that's the answer to that question. Local by Flywheel does not cost anything. So if you just want to spin up, holy cow, this is taking a long time. A local environment. I think we're going to have to give this another go here. Oh, look, it finally got me in. All right, cool. Yeah, so you don't have to use local. Many people, when they first start, will just get a hosting account and start building their website on that remote environment, which is perfectly fine as well. But yeah, if you just want to play around with the technology and spin a site up just so you can work on it locally or whatever, you can totally do that with Local by Flywheel. And I will say this much, there have been many tools over the years that I've been doing WordPress that allows you to do this type of thing where you develop a website locally. This is by far, like hands down, and it's fairly unanimous, this is the best tool to use for this purpose. And then of course, obviously the perk here is that if you do actually happen to host your website on Flywheel, it has some tools in here that make it very easy for you to pull down websites or pull down stuff from your remote environment. And then also you can push changes that you've done locally up to a remote website. And so that was kind of the incentive of them building the tool, is that it also helps them sell their hosting platform. So cool. Thank you, Flywheel, for building this tool. You've done a great service to WordPress developers around the globe. All right, cool. So we are now in the admin area of WordPress. This is where we do all of the controlling of the content that's on our website. So if we want to change anything on the front end here, we do it all from here. Now, earlier I spoke about a lot of underlying systems that exist inside WordPress. So we'll kind of quickly go over what some of those more important systems are, and then I'll show you how we can quickly and easily get this site up with a custom theme, and we can even start throwing custom plugins in here relatively quickly. WordPress started as a blogging platform. That's a really important point to make. So for those of you that don't know that, it started with just people wanting to blog back when blogging first became a thing. 15 years ago or something like that. And so the very first thing in here is posts. And the assumption automatically right out of the gate is that you're trying to build a blog. So if you're trying to use WordPress to build anything but a blog, there's a few tricks here we have to do in order to kind of take it from blog mode to WordPress mode, if you will. So you'll see that this hello world, this is basically this first post here. So if I were to create another post on here, it would just add another post to this page. And this main home page is designed right out of the gate by default to be a blog page. So that any post that I put on here just gets added to the page automatically. So if I want to change this first post, I can click on the post at edit or the title or whatever. Here you are introduced to the new Gutenberg Editor that they just added to WordPress in the past couple of years, which is fairly nice. And if we want to change the title of this blog post from Hello World to Hello Do Space, we just type and click Update and refresh our home page, and you'll see now it says Hello Do Space. So that's cool. However, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd be interested to see some feedback here in the chat. You know, I'd be interested to see how many people are actually interested in building like a WordPress website or a WordPress blog. I would be, if I had to put money on it, I would say probably 90% of people are trying to build a WordPress website. So I'll get into exactly what we got to do to do all that, but let me quickly go over what's going on the left-hand side, and then we'll get right into changing this from like a blog style website to a you know, an actual, you know, maybe an e-commerce website or a marketing website for your business or what have you. So right out the gate, we've got the posts. We're not interested in that right out the gate. We have our media manager area. This is where we can go to upload images to our website that we then want to put on any page or any post or anywhere on the site. You can use the media library area to upload any image that you want. Pages is probably the most important part. This is where we go to create any page that we want to have on our website, like a web page. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of web pages right now just because I'm already here. So I'm just going to click Add New. And we're going to create a couple of obvious pages that I think every website probably is going to need to have. So I'm going to create one called Home. And I'm just going to click Publish here. It's going to publish my home page. It's going to show me the URL for my home page. There we go. Great. I'm then going to click this plus, or I'm sorry, no, that's the ad block. Sorry, Gutenberg is a little new to me. I'm used to the classic editor. I'm going to go back here. So our home page is there. Boom. Says we published it 11 seconds ago. It seems about accurate. We're going to create another one. I'm going to create one just called Blog. Some people call it News. You could call it What's New. I've seen a lot of different ways to do this. Depends on like your style of your website and how you want your marketing to work. I'm just going to call this Blog just so that people don't get confused. But just know that it's common to name it something else if it still is in fact your blog, like something like News or What's New or anything like that. So there you go. So now we have 4 pages instead of the 2 that we started with by default. We've got a home page and a blog page, and that's it. Now let's keep going down here, and then when we get to the settings area, I'll show you what we're going to do with these pages to turn it into like an actual marketing website. So here's the comments area. Most times we're not going to have any comments. In a lot of marketing websites, people probably don't want to create a page and then have people commenting on the comment or the content on your page. And so for a lot of marketing websites, the comment stuff just goes mostly unused. Obviously, this is more of a blogging type feature. So if you are trying to create a blog, maybe the comments section is more important to you. But for most marketing websites, it's not. And then, of course, obviously, there's the combination scenario where you want a marketing website that also has a blog. There are extreme marketing and search engine optimization benefits to that approach. We can go over that later if you want. In the appearance area, the first thing that it'll give you right out of the gate is your themes. So these are all the themes that are actively installed in WordPress right now. The theme is actually what changes the look and feel of your site. So right now we're using the 2020 theme by default. time out real quick. I do see a question that came through. Are you working on WordPress.org or WordPress.com? Much difference. Yes, there is a huge difference. I am not working on WordPress.com right now. Technically, this is more like WordPress.org because what Local by Flywheel does is it pulls in whatever is the latest version of Flywheel on WordPress.org and installs it on your local machine. But it does all that for you. You don't actually have to go to WordPress.org to then download the zip file and unpack it locally and all that crazy stuff that we used to have to do. Local takes care of that for you. So, so good question. Just the important thing to point out here between WordPress.com and WordPress.org is that if we had just spun this site up on WordPress.com, we would probably be presented with the same situation. So whether you're doing this on WordPress.com or WordPress.org, basically the rest of this presentation really isn't going to matter either way a whole lot. Now, there are some limitations as to like which plugins you can install or which themes you can install, so on and so forth, especially when it comes to like premium stuff that you have to purchase. But for the most part, the admin looks the same, has a lot of the same, if not all of the same features. And then obviously, if you were to spin up a WordPress site right out of the gate on WordPress.com or WordPress.org, either way, it's going to look like this because this is the new theme that just came out for 2020. I know, not that fancy in my opinion, but if you guys want, we can look at some of these other ones. And it's very easy to switch the look and feel of your WordPress site without having to rebuild the whole site. So if I want to see what my site would look like in 2019, all I got to do is activate it. And then now we can go see, if we refresh the page, this is the 2019 layout, which again is also blah in my opinion. But I don't know. I think a lot of the WordPress themes that come with WordPress right out of the box tend to be minimalistic. And so that's kind of what they're going for here. And then if we go to the 2017, which is probably the better one out of all of them, in my opinion, it gives you like this big fancy hero image right out of the gate. And here, you know, again, we've got the blog situation with some links to the different ways to kind of, you know, query through the blogs, if you will, blog posts. And so it's that easy to dramatically change the look and feel of your site. Let's not use any of these basic ones because again, they're kind of blah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click add new to add a new theme. And what we'll be presented with here is essentially the WordPress theme repository is, I think, what it's referred to as, because I know the plugin repository is a repository, but I'm guessing maybe they just call it the theme market. I'm not sure. But it's not really a market because a lot of the ones that you're going to see here, I think all of the ones that you're going to see in here by default are all free. So that's a nice thing about WordPress is that, you know, when you go in here and you click, you know, add new theme, all the ones that show up in this browser situation here are all themes that are entirely free. So I just saw a question come in, where do you find different themes? I'm kind of answering that right now. This is where you can find different themes right here in the market as far as free themes go. Now, there's a lot of other options out there for themes. So if your question is about like paid themes, I would tell people that the best place to go to find paid themes is themeforest.net. And this is where I get all of my themes for the websites that I build professionally. So if you go to themeforest.net, they have a whole WordPress category on here, and you can browse through many WordPress themes. And the difference obviously is that a lot of these are paid. You have to pay for them. You create an account on ThemeForest, you buy it, and then they give you access to the theme files that you then download. What you do with those theme files once you've downloaded them is you use this neat little feature up here in the themes appearance area up in the top where it says upload theme. That's what you're going to do is you're going to buy the theme. They're going to give you a link to download the theme. It's going to be a zip file. Then you simply go to this part of the WordPress admin, you click upload theme, choose file, and then that will take you to your file browser where you can then go and upload your premium theme that you just bought. Once you upload it, you activate it, and boom, your theme's rocking and rolling. It's that simple. But in this specific example, I'm just going to pick some random whatever theme here. We'll do this Parallax 11. This looks nice. Some hot pink and some green and blue, very colorful. We'll just go with this one. I'm not really going to be too picky. A lot of different directions we can go here. And so what's happening right now is you see this thing saying installing. What's actually happening behind the scenes there is it's reaching out to where those files for that theme are stored, and it's going to actually download them to the local WordPress instance. So now there would be a new folder in the WordPress themes directory that has all of the files for this new theme that we just downloaded essentially. Now all we have left to do is to click the activate button to like essentially tell WordPress we want this theme to be our new active theme. And now you can see it takes us to the same window we were just at, and you can see, boom, Parallax 11 is now active. So the rest of these do not say that they're active, and they just give us a link to actually activate them if we want to. So now when we go back to our home page, you'll see here's our new theme. But right out of the gate, it doesn't quite look like what we saw in the preview. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that this is still kind of in blog mode. Timeout. Got another question here. First of all, whoever said this webinar is extraordinary, thank you so much. I talk about WordPress a lot, but I do appreciate the feedback. What do those types of themes cost? There's a variety, so when we're talking about the premium themes, I would say some of the better ones that I normally like to reach for are in the $60 to $70 range. I find that ones that are lower than that tend to lack a lot of features that I commonly want. So yeah, I try to tend to stick to more of the $59 range. Anything that says stuff like 32 or 39, I try to avoid. And this is just my own experience shopping for themes. I've done entire discussions at our WP Omaha meetup group that are entirely around how to shop for themes. So I could talk about that by itself for 2 hours. But you'll see that $59 is about the usual rate for a good multi-purpose premium WordPress theme. Cool. So there's a lot of places to find themes out there. This isn't the only place either, so just so you know. But I'll leave it up to you guys to go find other places. I just wanted to show the most popular places. Cool. So we have our new theme installed and activated. That's great. We need to do one more thing to kind of make this look like a regular WordPress website, if you will. And so the trick here, and we'll go back to plugins and users and tools and all that stuff here in a bit. But the trick here is to go down to settings. This settings area is quite important. And so the type of information that we enter in here is vital. So I would encourage anyone when you're first getting up and running with WordPress to just click through all these different links here and try to find kind of what all these settings are and what you have available to you in terms of settings, so you know what exists and why it exists, because it is very important to making sure your website runs properly and has everything you want. For instance, you'll see here at the top of our website here, notice how it says DoSpace, just another WordPress site, is kind of what this tab is saying up here. That's coming from here. So if I wanted to say DoSpace WordPress webinar up there instead, I can change that here, click Save Changes, go back to this page, click Refresh, and now you can see in the top tab here it says DoSpace WordPress webinar. So again, a lot of important stuff in here. The most important one for what we want to do right now with our site is right here in the reading one. So this is kind of like a little hidden gem I'm giving you guys. It's like a quick, I don't know, like get going quick tip essentially. Hold on, before we keep going, I got another question here. Can you mix and match themes on your site? No, you cannot. There is no mixing and matching the themes. You only have one active theme at a time. Now, with that said, WordPress, and this is kind of a whole other topic, but I'll touch on it for just a quick second. WordPress does have a parent-child theme relationship system built into it. The reason for this system existing is so that you can install and activate essentially what's considered to be a parent theme, which we could even consider the theme that we just activated to be a parent theme. And if we want to customize that theme at all down to the code level, like the CSS and the HTML and things like that that are being generated to produce these pages, it's not a good idea to go edit the core files of the theme to do those customizations. The best approach is to create what's called a child theme for that parent theme, and then make your customizations in there. That way, if the manufacturer or developer or whatever of the theme that you're using as your primary theme makes any updates to their theme, you can then update the theme on your WordPress site without losing all of the customizations that you have made. So that's a little bit about parent-child theme relationships in terms of themes on WordPress. Again, that's a very deep topic, but I just wanted to touch on that real quick just so you guys know it exists. If you're curious to know more about that, I would encourage you to go Google child themes for WordPress or whatever, and you'll be presented with way more information probably than you're ready to digest. So the trick here in this guy is right now you'll see our homepage displays our latest posts. And this is always what WordPress defaults to when you create a new WordPress site, no matter what. Like, there's no like, oh, never mind WordPress, I don't want it to be a blog while you're creating yourself. No, it doesn't give you that option. So one of the first things I always have to do when I'm building a website for a client on WordPress is I have to go to this reading area in the settings. I go to this first setting right up here. I click a static page. That's what I want my homepage to be. I want my homepage to be a static page, not a list of all my latest posts, right? And that's the whole reason why I went to the pages area earlier and created those other two pages. I created a homepage and I created a blog page. And the reason I created those two pages was literally so that I could fill these little select drop downs with the names of those pages. Had I not done that, these values would not be presented to me. So notice how it says home here and blog here. Had I not created those pages earlier, those options would not be available to me right now. So I'll just click homepage home here, and the posts page I want to be blog. Had I made it news, it would say news. And so now I just click save changes, and when we refresh this page, we're no longer going to see the blogs and the sidebar and all that stuff. Well, I guess we do see the sidebar because I don't have my page template set to full width. But you'll see now it says home, and we don't see our blog post hello do space or whatever there anymore. So what that means is that now that we've done that, we can go back to our pages area. We can go to the home page, which notice now says front page and posts page next to it. And we can click on the home page and start adding content to our home page to make it look like a real website. So what's the type of stuff that we would want to show on our home page? I don't know, but you know, maybe we would want to just start slapping images in here or something. I'm not sure. I'll go ahead and put an image in here. I guess, let's see, I'm trying to think of images that I have readily available that can be used. We can upload straight from here. Well, here's a picture of me. Boom, we'll just use this guy right here. That's a handsome guy. So that's what I look like, everybody. I don't have my webcam turned on right now because my basement is a disaster because I'm doing some home remodeling going on. So I got a lot of stuff going on. I didn't want to show off my mess to you all, but this is what I look like, I promise you. So I'll click update here. And now when we go back here and we refresh this page, we'll see, boom, here I am. And then we'll see if we have any page templates in here that come with this theme. Different themes come with different page templates. Boom, look at this. This theme comes with a page template called Homepage Layout. Isn't that convenient? That's exactly what we're trying to do right now. So if I click that and refresh, my guess is, before I refresh, my guess is that all it's going to do is take away this unattractive sidebar here on the right. Or not, never mind. It was a guess. What is this doing? Two space, WordPress webinar, sample page. Why is it on sample page? Home. I don't know what it's trying to do right here. I guess I would have to go to the theme settings in order to figure out exactly what it's trying to do here. Maybe it comes with its own little page builder. I don't know. Let's not use the homepage layout though, because that is not doing it for us. So we're just going to stick with this for now. I won't get into how to like make different page templates and whatnot. That's quite a bit more advanced. But just know that depending on what theme you install and activate, different default page templates will be available to you. Usually there is a full width layout that's available to you. It's kind of like a standard by many WordPress themes. This theme apparently did not feel like doing that. But normally what that would do is just take away the sidebar, and then you'd be good to go. We'd be having a full width situation here. And so this is what's called the Gutenberg Editor. It's a page editor. Most people, when they use WordPress, use what are called page builders. I don't have a page builder installed right now. However, I could easily install one right now if I wanted to. And where are we at with time? Let me see, I can get quite carried away. So we have about 13 minutes left. I do want to leave a little bit of time to field some questions. And for the record, just so everybody knows, I was pushing for a 2-hour one, but they said most people do 1 hour, and so I'm trying to keep it down to 1 hour. But if you join us at a WP Omaha meetup in the near future, we go for 2 hours usually. So yeah, there's that. So I would say if you want to learn more about WordPress, you want to hear me talk more, please come to one of our meetups, and we would be very happy to have you. We're an open meetup. All of our meetups are free, and they're all published everywhere. Let me look through some of these questions real quick. Ditto, an amazing webinar. Thank you so much. You guys are very nice. Can you make your screen any bigger to see words better on our end? I wasn't aware there was a problem with the fidelity, so I'm sorry about that. I can zoom in a little bit if you'd like. We'll keep it zoomed in like this, and I'll zoom out as needed. So I'll try to leave it zoomed in as much as possible. Cool. So let's go. I want to touch on a few other things here that are fairly important. There's a lot of things going on in the settings area. I don't think there's anything in here that's worth going over at this level though. So let's not worry about anything else in the settings area. But just know that the stuff is important. It's just not as important as these first three that I showed off. Actually, the biggest ones are the general tab and the reading tab. These are the two most important ones in here, and mainly for this feature right here that I just showed off. I do want to touch on the user management tool real quick. So this is the user management system in WordPress. And as you see, we only have one user in here. This is my user. This is the user that I used to log in and control my website. And you can see I have a role here of administrator. That means that I can do literally anything in WordPress. WordPress comes with, I believe, 5 or 6 different roles already built into it that provide the user with varying levels of access to different tools in the admin area. So if I was to create a new user with a role of like editor or subscriber or contributor, they would all be given access to different things back here. They would still get access to the WordPress admin, but they wouldn't have access to things like the settings, the users, the pages. They might have access to posts if it's like a editor or contributor, so that people can write posts, but then they wouldn't be able to publish them. So there's a lot of cool stuff already built into WordPress as far as user management goes, so that you can give certain roles of people certain amount of access to the site, so that not anybody can log into your site and just start doing whatever they want with it. They would have to have an admin user role to do anything like that. And even editor level roles, which are like the next step down from administrator, they have access to a lot of things, but they don't have access to the user management, so they can't add or remove users. And I don't believe they can add plugins or change the theme either. These are things only available to the admin level users. If I wanted to add a new user, I could just click add new. It allows me to put in their email address, username, so on and so forth. I click the add new button, and then they have a new user, and that's that. And then you can do that until you're blue in the face. You can have as many users as you want. They could all have different accounts, different usernames, different passwords, different levels of access to the admin, and different levels of control over the website. And all of that, again, is baked right into the core of WordPress, which in my opinion is one of the most powerful things about WordPress. And that's one of the reasons why I use WordPress to build most of my clients' websites, is because the idea is that I do the hard work, of building the whole website and making it look perfect exactly how they want it. And then once I'm done with that, I can just create a user for them and give them access to all the stuff in the background. And then they can go to town and customize whatever they need to after the fact. So if later they want to change any of the content on the website, they can do so without knowing any HTML, without knowing any CSS or any programming whatsoever. All they need to be able to do is log into WordPress, and they could go in there and edit any of the content on any of the pages or create their own blog posts or whatever. And they didn't have to do any programming or anything, which is, fantastic in my opinion. So, so now let's go and check out the plugins area. You'll see right now, I have no plugins. Hold on, I got more questions. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks for the Zoom. You're welcome. I'm sorry it was difficult to see earlier. Yeah, this is better. Can you touch base on how to edit a page? Absolutely. We'll go back to the page editor in just a second because that can get quite complex. Do they still own it if you do that? Well, yeah. So the way I run, everybody does their business differently when they build websites for people. But the way I run my business is that if my client's paying me to build a website for them, they own it regardless. I mean, they own it even while I'm building it. So if at any time they want the keys of the kingdom, I will hand it over to them. It's just that most times my clients don't really care to have the keys that early. So they're just like, hey, let me know when it's done and ready for me. And at that point, I give it to them. So when you say own it, if it's WordPress.org and we're building a website on a server that they're paying to lease, like on GoDaddy or Bluehost or HostGator or Flywheel or whatever you have, like you own the server. WordPress is open source, so you own that whole website front to back. That's, again, the beautiful thing about WordPress, the big difference between Wix and Squarespace, website builders like those tools, and WordPress is that you don't own Wix, you don't own Squarespace, so you can't make those things do anything that you can imagine because they only do what they do. So that's it. That's your limit. Whatever they've designed Wix and Squarespace to do, that's all that it's going to do for you ever. And you'll have to, if you want it to do something different, you're going to have to ask them, and good luck with that. But the great thing about WordPress is that you don't have that limitation. This is your site now. You can make it do anything you can imagine. And if you know somebody like me who's good at WordPress development and can make it do literally anything you can imagine, the sky is the limit. So yeah, again, another beautiful thing about WordPress is that when you say, do you own it, right? Yes, you own the whole thing. Imagine it like owning your own Wix or owning your own Squarespace. You can make it do anything. That's what WordPress is and always has been for the past 15 years. So let's get back to plugins. So plugins are actually what allow you to do that crazy stuff. Interestingly enough, nice little segue. So plugins are essentially what extend the functionality of WordPress. And when I say that there are a lot of plugins out there, let me tell you, there are a lot of plugins out there. They do a ton. So if you want to turn your WordPress site into a forum, you could use BBPress and add an entire forum to your website, and then people that come to your website and create accounts can start contributing content to your site via a forum if you want. Or if you wanted to turn your website into a social media platform, that's what Buddypress does. Buddypress allows you to do that. People can go on, create an account, and then they can start creating posts and creating pages. And next thing you know, you basically got your own, I don't know, not quite as sophisticated as like a WordPress or as a Facebook or a Twitter or a Tumblr. Actually, it's closer to a Tumblr situation than anything else. So yeah, you just basically, if you have Buddypress installed on WordPress, you can create your own Tumblr style website. Now, you're not limited to just what's here. These are just what are featured. If we go to popular, you'll see a bunch of other ones. And it would take me forever to show off even the top WordPress plugins. I mean, literally, the sky is the limit. There are a ton. What are the most common plugins? Great question, Sheila. Thank you so much for asking that. Yoast SEO is one of the most popular plugins out there. It does a whole bunch automatically right out of the gate to make all of your content search engine optimized literally with the click of a button, which is awesome. So all these people making hundreds and thousands of dollars doing quote unquote search engine optimization for you, this plugin is literally free. Contact Form 7, also super popular. This basically allows you to add a contact form to your site so that people can send you an email or whatever without knowing your email address. Boom, there's that. Akismet anti-spam. This used to come by default with every WordPress site. I think it still does on some hosting environments. This is just an anti-spam thing. I normally don't even use it that much, but it is popular. By far, one of the most popular plugins. As a matter of fact, it's so popular, I'll just go ahead and zoom in on it even more. Woocommerce. I have done a bunch of development around Woocommerce. Most of my clients have Woocommerce installed. What does it do? It's essentially an e-commerce plugin for WordPress. So it takes what was originally designed to be a blog, okay, which then got turned into a platform to build websites, takes it and turns it into an entire e-commerce solution. So if you want to open your own online store that sells literally anything, digital product, physical product, I mean, you name it. I've done entire talks on crazy stuff that I've built on WooCommerce. You can do it with WooCommerce. And again, it's free. And it's built and managed by the same company that created WordPress itself. The name of the company is Automatic. And so this whole platform is brought to you by Automatic. And this is how Automatic makes a lot of their money, is they build paid plugins for WooCommerce that allow people to use WordPress for e-commerce. Which in my opinion is absolutely genius. And it's mostly what people use WordPress for so that they can make money with their WordPress site, selling literally anything. My mom has one. She makes art and stuff like that. She paints, crafts, arts and crafts and whatnot. She does craft shows, and she has a WordPress site using WooCommerce, and she sells her crafts and art on the WooCommerce platform, essentially. Elementor is a page builder. This is what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to go ahead and install this now and show you how quick and easy it is to install a plugin. So again, what's happening here with the spinny arrows is that it's reaching out to where the Elementor files are stored out on the internet on a centralized repo, and it's pulling all those files down into my local environment, downloading them so that they're all in the right spot. And then once they're done being downloaded, I'm going to be able to then activate this plugin to essentially turn it on. So anytime you're working with themes or plugins, you first have to install it, which essentially is the act of grabbing the files and putting them in your local environment or in your remote environment, and then you have to tell it to turn on. Any plugin or theme can be activated or deactivated at any time. So there you go. We now have Elementor installed, and let's see what that does to our pages. So now we'll go back to the page because I did have a question about, can you show more about editing the pages? Yes, I can. And so now you see we still have the same thing that we saw before. However, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this because we don't really need it. I'm going to show you what Elementor can do. So if we click Edit with Elementor, you'll see that now we get this fancy preview of our site. So here's our home page, and we can start doing all sorts of crazy stuff to our site. That's why I said that page builders are like one of the first things that a lot of people want to install on their site, because the WordPress editor really isn't all that great. I mean, it's getting better with Gutenberg, but Gutenberg is so new. It has a lot of ways to go before it can compete with something as full-featured as Elementor. A couple of other like popular page builders are WP Bakery or Beaver Builder or yeah, Elementor. That's really basically like the big three now at this point. Many come and go. Some premium themes come with their own page builder built in. There's a lot of different ways to like solve this problem, essentially, of a better way to add content to your page. But we're just going to go with Elementor right now. So now we can add an image. We can use the same image that we did before. This basically gives you a drag and drop scenario. So we can drag and drop our image element here, and then on the left here we can change what our image consists of. I'm going to select the image that we already uploaded, which is the one of me. Boom, there we go. Now there's our image, and we can do all sorts of things like change the size of the image, and it should real time change right there on the page. We can change how the image is aligned. We can add a link to the image. We can do all sorts of things. So really, like, your imagination is the limit once you start getting a page builder installed, and you can do a bunch of stuff with this. So there we go. I could say, okay, cool, that's all I really wanted to do with my image. I can click update. Let's go ahead and add like something else too, just so you guys know that I'm adding other stuff. So we'll go here and we'll add like maybe a list. Where can I get a list? Maybe we could even search up here for a list. Cool, price list. All right, why not? See it in action. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, it's locked. That's how they get you to buy the pro version. Okay, I guess we'll do an icon list. There you go. List item 1, list item 2, list item 3. Looks good to me. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to get too customized with this. So now when I refresh the home page, you'll see that we now have our list items 1, 2, and 3. And there's our big giant image of me. And there you go. I feel like I'm missing a lot of questions now. They're really starting to roll in. It's 7:30. I'm like past my time. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up with that. Just know that plugins are crazy and there's a lot of stuff you can do with them. And yeah. So let me field some of these questions and then and we'll wrap it up. Okay. So let's see. What is it saying here? Holy cow, there's a lot of them. Man, you guys got busy on the questions. Where does HTML come into WordPress? So HTML is written in PHP files. So if you don't know a lot about PHP, you can write PHP and WordPress together. Can you offer a 1.2 version of this Zoom? I would love to do another one in the future, by all means. But just so you know, the other option is to come to a WP Omaha meetup. Not physically, obviously, right now because of COVID, but we have been doing virtual ones online. We actually have our own private conferencing solution that we built from the ground up using Jitsi. But anyway, yeah, if you just go to wpomaha.org or meetup.com, actually, is probably a better place to go. Meetup.com/WP-Omaha, or just search for WP Omaha on meetup.com and join our meetup group on there. You'll get notifications automatically whenever we schedule a new meetup, which has been like a month and a half since we've done one. I apologize for that, but I've been busy remodeling my home and I don't get many people offering to do these talks. Okay, so again, where does HTML come into WordPress? It's through PHP files. You have to write your WordPress in what are called PHP templates. And again, for people that don't know a lot about PHP, I would encourage you to start learning it. PHP allows you to write HTML and PHP together, and then what happens is PHP dynamically generates your HTML for you on the fly. It says, thank you. Okay, please keep going with plugins. I think you mentioned this, but does Flywheel do the same function as a GoDaddy to own a domain? That is a fantastic question. I do not know if you can purchase domains through Flywheel. My guess right out of the gate is no, that they probably are not a licensed like registrar is what those are called. I could be entirely wrong on that, so please don't quote me. You'd probably be better off going to Flywheel. I think their URL is getflywheel.com, and I'm sure on there they'll be able to answer your question much better than I can. I'm on WordPress.com, and the free WP wants you to upgrade to the business plan. So if I want to get hits, should I upgrade? What do you mean by get hits? You mean like if you want to get traffic to your website, should you get the business plan? No. My answer is straight up no on that. Having a business plan is not going to guarantee you more hits on your website. That is going to come more from creating good content, search engine optimization, advertising and marketing, SEM, going through Google, doing stuff like that is a better approach. Yeah. Did you say you have to pay for Elementor? I think you mean Elementor, Kiona. And no, Elementor is a free page builder that comes with WordPress. As you saw, I literally just went through the free plugin repository on WordPress. I didn't have to pay a dime. I downloaded it, activated it, installed it, and I'm off and running. There is a pro version of Elementor that you can pay for that comes with additional features so that it is an option. Most really good page builders do cost some money. However, usually when you buy them, you get a license to use them on as many websites as you want. I personally, I'm working on a fairly advanced website right now that does use Elementor. We did opt to go the pro route. However, we almost got away with doing the entire site without paying for pro. So I will say that if you take your time and you spend the time on it and you're creative, you can make extremely elegant websites without having to pay for a premium page builder. How would you suggest I name my website? I have 3 different elements to my brand. Which 2 have different names? My brand includes blog, fitness, and finance. So when it comes to domain names, if you want it to have a huge impact on your SEO, you're going to want to make sure that the domain name itself has as many keywords in it as possible that you can associate with what you're selling. With that said, you also want it to revolve around your brand, because that's how people will easily remember the name of your site. So for instance, I know Flywheel also owns a domain called flywheelsites.com. They decided to do that because you build websites on it and their name is Flywheel. So they went with flywheelsites.com, probably mostly for the SEO impact. So that's a great question. I don't think we have time to really go into depth on that too much. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one. Great question though. Best DoSpace webinar yet. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Like, you guys are making my head too big here. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like I said, this is not my first time talking about WordPress. I do it almost on a monthly basis through our meetup group, WP Omaha, which is free, and we encourage as many people as possible to join it. The whole reason why I wanted to do this webinar through DoSpace is to tell more people about WP Omaha and to encourage people to get engaged. Cool. Somebody's going to check out WP Omaha. What is the main difference between Drupal and WordPress? That's almost a whole nother topic entirely. However, I will address it from a very high up standpoint real quick. I know Drupal is a pretty popular name out there, especially when it comes to the security standpoint. A lot of people want to use Drupal. The reason why a lot of people use Drupal, especially like government websites and such, is because they're afraid of getting hacked. It's a security thing. And it's not that Drupal is better with security either. That's not what's going on here. It's not like WordPress is less secure than Drupal. I'll tell you, the main thing here is that WordPress is so stinking popular that hackers target it. I mean, keep in mind, it's 37%. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you guys a little infographic to go out on here. I'm just going to Google CMS Market Share. Top 10 popular CMS by market share. Okay, this is just the first blog article I find. It was published on February 3rd, 2020. Here's a graph. Total number of websites on CMSs. Okay, what's the market share look like? Boom, right here. Look at that. That is the WordPress line. This line is everybody else. That's how popular it is. It's quite staggering. Oh wait, hold on. This is not a, hold on. I want to see an overlapping graph, because this kind of takes things out of context. Hold on. I had pulled up a, let's see what I can find here. Hold on. I'm going to send you guys out with some good content here. I found a blog article that showed, here we go. Boom, look at this. This is on kinsta.com, WordPress Market Share, a really good blog article. I wonder, can I put this link in the, yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna put this link in the chat. I don't know if everybody has access to the chat. I don't know, Naya, if you have a way to broadcast this link to everybody in the webinar. But if you don't, that's what it is right there. So if we go down, you'll see that if you look at percentage of all websites and the percentage of the CMS market, 37% of all websites are WordPress. Drupal is down at 1.7%. So the difference is quite staggering. And when you just look at content management systems, 62% of websites on content management systems are WordPress, and only 3% are Drupal. So when I'm talking about the security aspects of it, it's hackers are smart, and they're not going to spend a bunch of time like trying to hack websites that aren't built on a very popular platform, because it's going to be harder to hack them because the platform is very niche. And so a lot of hackers target WordPress sites because there's so many of them the likelihood of them being able to hack into one of those are higher than the likelihood of them being able to hack into the WordPress site or into the Drupal sites. So it has nothing to do with the underlying like technology of WordPress being insecure. It has to do with the statistics. Like if you walk up to 50 car doors, what's the likelihood that one of them is going to be unlocked? You know what I mean? It's quite likely, right? And so that's kind of what we're talking about here is with WordPress. They're like, well, if we're only going to try to hack into one type of system, it's going to be WordPress because there's more of those out there. Let's see. There's so many questions. You guys are great. This is a great webinar. I didn't realize it was going to turn out this good. So thank you so much for all of you attending. I really appreciate it. Where was I with the, let's see, Drupal. Okay, can this webinar be viewed again? I do believe it's being recorded and it's also being live broadcast right now. So I believe it can be watched again. However, you'd have to ask DoSpace about that. How does Flywheel use that URL, flywheelsites.com site? What do they have in there? So basically, before you push your site public, before you say, I want my website to be on www.mynewdomain.com, they give you these other domains that you can use in the interim. And so, so that's what the flywheelsites.com domain is mostly used for, is for the interim domain, so that when you start creating your new website, before you assign it to the domain that you own, you can access it through their flywheelsites.com domain. Let's see here. I have a small blog. I'd like to add it to static page site. I'd like to add it to a static page site. Can that be done? I can Google directions, but just wondering if it's possible. Yes. So the idea here with WordPress is that you can have a blog and your website all in the same thing if you want. I don't know what your small blog is run on, if it's on something like Blogger or something like that, but WordPress also has tools built into it to allow you to import blogging data from other third-party blogs, so that you can convert from a blogger blog, from a blogger. Is that even, that doesn't even sound right, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say that. Yeah, so you can go from writing your blogs on Blogger to writing your blogs on WordPress relatively easy, and then have your website and your blog all together in one. Now, if you don't want to do that and you want to continue writing your blog on a third-party platform, I would recommend exploring what are called subdomains. And so what that would allow you to do is get a subdomain for your actual domain. So if you wanted your actual domain, mywebsite.com, to be your main website on WordPress, but then have a blog, you can create links to that blog on your WordPress site, and then change the domain of your blog site to your subdomain, which you can then make blog. So then you could have blog.mywebsite.com, and then it would all seem like it's all one website, especially if you theme them all the same. It's a little tricky to do that type of a thing. I usually try to get people to, if they already have a blog, and since WordPress is a blogging platform, to just merge their current blog with WordPress and import all of the data from their blog into WordPress, because WordPress is like one of the best blogging software out there. And then it's all managed in one place, which seems to be better for most people, and also better for search engines, just so you know. What does Flywheel have in their Flywheel sites URL? I think I just answered that. So I'm not going to answer it again, because I feel like it's the same question that I just answered. So yeah. When is this webinar going to be on YouTube? That's a great question. So I don't know if or when they put these webinars on YouTube. If they do, I would like to know about it for sure. However, just so you know, like I said, this is not my first rodeo talking about WordPress. I do many talks about WordPress through WP Omaha, and we have our own YouTube channel. So if you're interested in hearing me talk more about WordPress on a variety of WordPress related topics, you can look us up on YouTube. If I just, and since you all can see my screen, I'm just going to go to youtube.com, and I believe, I don't think we have our own URL. I'll just go to youtube.com, and we'll just type in WP Omaha, and then there's our WP Omaha channel right there. And these are all talks that we've done at WP Omaha that are all on here and can be viewed. And as you can see, we have a staggering number of views here, 26. This one has none at all. I think that was just a testing one, so that's why. 13, 15, yeah, ridiculous amount of views there, being completely sarcastic. But these talks are really good and they're really long. Like some of them are up to almost 2 hours. So there's a lot of free information that you can get from yours truly right on there, because many of these talks were given by me, although not all of them, just so you know. But many of them were. Some of them have a lot of views, like this WordPress development workflows, 1.9 thousand. That's not too shabby. But yeah, so we try to do a lot of talks, and we try to live stream as many as possible of them, and then through YouTube it automatically records them, and then you can go watch them after the fact. And then also, just so you know, if you want to learn even more about WordPress, WordCamp Omaha has our own channel on here with even more videos on it, and these are all talks that were given at previous WordCamps, and they're all categorized by the year of the WordCamp. So WordCamp Omaha 2019, WordCamp Omaha 2018, 2017, 2016. So there is a lot of information out there that you can get that's just local, you know. And then if you go look at other people's, like, you know, Kansas City has a great WordCamp every year or whatever. Like, there's tons of information out there about WordPress you can get. Just subscribe. Thank you so much for subscribing, Kiona. That makes me feel great. It boosts our numbers, and hopefully one day we'll be able to hit the 100 subscriber mark that allows us to get our own custom URL so that we can then type in youtube.com/channel/ WP Omaha. That would be awesome. But we're not quite there yet. I don't remember how many we're at right now. I'm kind of curious now that we're talking about it, and it's okay. I don't mind going over a little bit. Like I said, normally my talks are 2 hours, so this doesn't bother me at all, as long as it doesn't bother DoSpace. Yeah, 79 subscribers. So all we need is 21 more subscribers, and we can have our own custom URL on YouTube, which would be fantastic. All right, awesome. If there's any other questions now, or any other questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace, or join us at another WP Omaha meetup, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Again, this was meant to be like a very high-level overview of WordPress, about getting started, some beginner level, you know, intro to WordPress, if you will. So I know we didn't go too much in depth, you know, with a lot of different things. I would love to do a second webinar. So if you guys all like this a lot and would like to see me do another one through DoSpace, like we did this one, please reach out to DoSpace. I'd be more than happy to do another one for DoSpace. But otherwise, like I said, we have a lot of meetups through WP Omaha, and so you're all more than welcome to join us at one of those and hear me talk again about more WordPress stuff. And if you have personal questions for me related to WordPress or whatever, please reach out through Meetup. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you just go to linkedin.com, I'll show you my profile and you can reach out to me there. Whoops, never mind. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want to view my profile. There it is right there. LinkedIn.com/n/Rob C. Ruiz. I'll copy and paste that into the chat here just in case you all can access that. And there you go. Yeah, you're more than welcome to message me about anything related to WordPress. I know way too much about it. As a matter of fact, I'd be very surprised to see if anybody could stump me on any question. I know way too much about WordPress. All right, cool. How do you set up a local workspace? I'm not sure. I don't know what you mean by local word space. What do you mean by a local word space? Sri Karacha. I'm not sure what you mean by a local word space. Oh, I think you mean the URLs that I was using. DoSpace manages that for me. So I think you're talking about in your host's environment. You got on PC, there's a host file that you can edit. But again, the Local by Flywheel application actually manages that host file for you and creates those URLs. That's how we're able to set up this little demo environment here. So I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. You're talking about this URL up here. You'll have to Google it if you don't have local. I don't remember exactly how to do it. I just know that there's a host file somewhere on PC. On Mac, I have no idea. I'm a PC guy. Awesome. Okay, Michelle. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed this webinar. Awesome. Great. Great. All right. With that, I'm fairly well over my time. I hope DoSpace does not mind that we went quite a bit over an hour. I certainly don't mind that we went over an hour. Like I said, originally I wanted to go 2 hours because there's a lot to cover here. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining me for this webinar. I really appreciate it. I see a hand. What does this hand mean? Margie Tremblay. I'm still open to answering questions if you have them. Maybe the hand is outdated. Okay, cool. All right. Again, thank you all so much. I really appreciate you guys joining us. There was a lot of people. A lot more people than I expected. Yeah, it was great talking to you guys about WordPress. Yeah, I'd love to talk about something a little bit more in depth next time if you guys are open to it. Otherwise, go watch some of my videos on YouTube or join us for a WP Omaha meetup. I'll go ahead and go to that URL now, meetup.com/WP-Omaha. Here is our meetup page. So this is what we look like. We don't have a small number of members. We have 842 members. If you compare us to other meetups in the area, that's quite a lot. And then if you go to wpomaha.org, you'll find our website. And this is our website. And this workshop series has ended. We'll be doing a JavaScript workshop series here soon in the summer. So if anybody's interested in learning about JavaScript in a more workshop environment and way more hours of education, you can stay tuned for that in the summer. I'll be doing one of those. Otherwise, you can go in here and go to, let's see, request to speak or request to request a topic. Those take you to forums that allow you to do those two things. And then you can see all of our videos on here from YouTube. We have a blog, but not a whole lot of entries for it. I think this will load and show all of our videos eventually. Oh, and then we also have a Slack community. So if there's any Slack users out there that want to reach out to me, like DM with me on Slack or ask our entire community questions on Slack, you can go to wpomaha.org and go to contact us. Under contact us, there's join the Slack community. If you just fill out your name and your email address on here, we will shoot you an invite to our Slack workspace, and then you can Slack with us if you're into the Slack thing. Again, thank you all very much for joining us and hear me talk about WordPress.